This week is Theros Week, where I talk about the new Mythic Odysseys of Theros book, dive into each of the sections with a new video each day, and then at the end of the week I'm going to be doing an overview review of the book. I'm also running a huge competition this month, so stick around to the end of the video for all the information on that. Today we're taking a look at the Gods of Theros and how this world is defined by its connections to divinity and the piety of its people. Gods are a major element in the Mythic Odysseys of Theros and one of the defining features of the setting, and for me, they're also one of the most interesting elements of the entire book. Theros is a world where things people believe and imagine can become real, and it's said that the gods came into being because people believed in them. That shared belief caused the gods to manifest and become as real as the earth. And the gods are very real to the people of Theros, as in you can actually see them moving across the sky, or people even have tales of actually meeting them. The gods of Theros are probably more present and active than the gods in almost any other D&D setting, really. Now, something you'll often hear in D&D is, if the gods are real, why are they not intervening to stop these world-ending threats? Well, in Theros, the gods do get involved, but they aren't all-powerful. Instead, they act through their champions, which is almost always the players. Even though there are limits to their powers, the gods in Theros are basically invincible. The book mentions it would take the coordination between multiple gods, forcing that god into a mortal body, such as a Tarask, and the players using a divine weapon to be able to weaken a god enough for it to be imprisoned. Imprisoned, not killed. It is possible that if enough people believed a god to be powerless, that could become the reality though, and that god could be then killed. But such a task would hardly go unnoticed, and the god in question would almost certainly dispatch their champions to put a stop to the plan. I don't think it would be possible to run a campaign in Theros without the campaign being really focused on divinity, because the gods and their actions can be felt throughout the world of Theros. The supernatural gifts the players receive at level 1, for example, they don't have to come from a god, but that is the assumed default. Our characters are chosen by the gods and granted powers to help further the gods' will or fulfill their destiny. In a mechanical sense, the importance of the gods in Theros manifests in the form of the piety mechanic. Characters that show devotion to their god gain piety, and as your piety increases, you might be granted blessings from your god. At character creation in a Theros game, you choose a god to worship and your piety with that god starts at 1, unless you've got one of the gifts, in which case it starts at 3. Your score increases by 1 when you do something to advance your god's agenda or behave in a way that shows you're devoted to them. The book contextualizes this by saying the gods only typically grant favors for significant deeds, so you can expect to only increase your piety points when you complete an adventure or do something similarly impressive. As a general rule, the Theros book recommends increasing the piety score by 1 with each session of play, but I think that's going to largely depend on how often you play. The piety score maxes out at 50, and if you play every week, it's possible your players could max out their piety long before the end of a campaign. If you're playing weekly, I would probably award piety every 2 to 3 sessions, but if you're playing monthly, you might want to aim at awarding 2 to 3 piety per session. The piety milestones are 3, 10, 25, and 50, and at most of those, you gain rewards that are spells that you can cast daily, while the 50 piety milestone usually gives you some sort of ability score increase. Most impressively though, the piety reward at 50 also increases your stat maximum, making it one of the few things in the game that can push your stats over a 20. None of the piety benefits are really game breaking, but they are a nice mechanical reward for roleplaying your character's devotion to their god. Athreos is the god of passage and the one god that all mortals are destined to meet, as he's the one that ferries the dead across the river Tartix and into the underworld. Ithara is the goddess of the polis and is considered to be the founder of civilization. She's said to watch over cities, keeping them safe, which means she's a popular deity in the human polis of Meletis, Akros and Setessa. Erebos is the god of the dead in the underworld, and only the paradise of Elysia is safe from his ambition to rule all that has ever lived. Heliod is the god of the sun, and it's by his will that the sun rises and sets each day. Helios is one of the most widely worshipped deities, and even those who don't worship him acknowledge his importance as the bringer of light. Icarus is the god of victory and is widely worshipped by soldiers and warriors who pray to him for strength in battle. Followers of Icarus view war as a testing ground for the soul to prove themselves worthy. Karametra is the goddess of the harvest and often regarded as a calm, motherly figure among the pantheon. Like Heliod, Karametra is widely worshipped and given reverence by most, who pray to her for good crops and bountiful harvests. Keranos is the god of storms. He is known to be impatient and merciless with those that draw his ire. He doesn't tolerate the company or worship of fools, and he rewards the strong-minded. Clothis is the goddess of destiny. She's considered to be one of Theros' earliest deities. Now, Clothis oversees the order of the cosmos, and she is one of the few deities that doesn't seem to need the worship of mortals to sustain her existence and power. Kruphix is the god of horizons, and along with Clothis is one of the original deities of Theros. Kruphix is shrouded in mystery, and some say that he's all-knowing, burdened with the knowledge of all events that have passed and all futures yet to come. Mogis is the god of slaughter and the father of the Minotaur. Mogis is a hateful, vengeful, and explosively violent being who views Theros as a canvas ready to be painted with blood. Nylea is the goddess of the hunt and claims domain over all of the natural world. She's often regarded as the most fun-loving and free-spirited of the gods, except for when it comes to the hunt, where she is stoic and serious. Pharaka is the goddess of affliction and considered to be the patron of medicine, alchemy, and aging. She considered Theros to be her personal laboratory, and the mortals that live there are her test subjects. She often plants secrets and mysteries throughout the world, just to watch the mortals suffer as they try and chase them. Phoenix is the god of deception. He was once a mortal trapped in the underworld, but managed to escape and eventually join the pantheon. He exists as an agent of chaos, disrupting the plans of other gods. Perforos is the god of the forge and the fire, the restless earth. He is the god of creativity and invention, but also of obsession and the cycle of creation and destruction. Change is a big thing with Perforos, and he's not afraid to tear something down to make way for something better. And then finally, Thassa is the goddess of the sea. She's worshipped by the Triton and prayed to by mortals hoping to survive the violent oceans. Thassa is another deity that represents change, but for Thassa it's the slow, gradual change, like the tide eroding the beach, and not the violent storm of change one might find in Perforos. Those are just brief summaries of the gods in the book, but the book delves into a lot of detail about this pantheon. For each deity, you get information on their motivations and their goals, their relationships with the other gods and mortals, and you get a section devoted to the champions of each god, including tables on how the champion earned the god's favour, information on what the piety features for a worshipper of the god gets, and a whole bunch more. In my opinion, the gods are one of the main selling points for this book. If you want to play out tales of heroism to the backdrop of a pantheon that feels like it's taken out of a Greek tragedy, you're almost certainly going to love this book. But if you don't like the gods presented, you're going to struggle with the rest of the book because everything is so steeped in that sense of divinity. Now, at the start of this video, I mentioned that I'm running a mega competition this month. I recently passed 10,000 subscribers, and to celebrate, I'm giving away over $500 worth of digital tools. There are going to be multiple winners for this giveaway, and to enter, all you need to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment down below this video. The first place winner is going to get a copy of Fantasy Grounds Unity, which is my preferred platform for running RPGs online, as well as a copy of the Player's Handbook and Monster Manual in Fantasy Grounds, which is going to give you everything you need to get up and running and playing games, and it'll give you a great platform to build up from. The winner's also going to get a copy of Wonderdraft, the map-making tool that I have been raving about for the last year, and a copy of Dungeon Draft, the battle map-making software from Megasploot, who made Wonderdraft. They'll also get an invitation to the Legend Keeper beta, allowing you to build your worlds and link all of your worlds together. And they'll get a huge selection of resources that I've made over the years, including NPC cards, one-page adventures, maps, factions, and a load more. The second place winner is going to get a copy of Fantasy Grounds Unity, as well as the Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual, supplied courtesy of Smiteworks, the folks behind Fantasy Grounds. The third place winner is going to get a copy of both Wonderdraft and Dungeon Draft, courtesy of Megasploot, the creator of those two programs. And then 25 runners-up are also going to get an access code to the Legend Keeper beta and everything I produced on Patreon in the month of May. I'll be picking the winners at random on Tuesday, June 30th, so you've got plenty of time to share this video around and get your comments in down below. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and found it useful in helping you decide if Theros is a book for you. If you did, make sure to hit the like button down below because it really helps YouTube push this video to other people. And let me know down in the comments below which of the Theros gods you think is the most interesting. But until next time, happy gaming. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all my new releases. I release new videos every other Friday. You'll find more videos just over here, and if you enjoy what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Just $5 a month gets you access to loads of extra content to use in your RPG campaigns. But until next time, happy gaming.